Mike Rogers, who's an editor and a publisher, runs Blog Active, actually managed to put together a campaign in the mid-'80s together to get companies to divest themselves of South African businesses to help end apartheid. He's also on the staff of Greenpeace, working for environmental issues, and still has time to call out hypocrites for what they are. Geez, Mike, you're so busy.
Hey, Randy, I used to work at Greenpeace.
You're so busy.
I am very busy. If all I do is report on closeted Republicans who are hurting gay people, that alone keeps me incredibly busy before anything else.
Well, it's the hypocrisy that stuns me, and the idea that this man has no judgment, he should resign anyway. I don't know what part of guilty he doesn't understand, but okay, more power to him. He's got his crisis team now, and we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, there are, so many homosexuals in the Republican Party. It's almost stunning. So are you done with it? Are you going to continue to name them, or what's the deal?
There's going to be a lot of them. Everybody knows that these guys, Larry Craig certainly wasn't the first, and Larry Craig won't be the last. In fact, I want to just take a minute to give you a shout-out. Right when I first started working with that case of Ed Schrock, who had those recordings on the phone sex line, you were one of the first on-air folks nationwide to say this is a story that needs to be told, and you told your listeners about it. And now we're seeing today that it's moved up to the element where people care. They want to know what's going on. And more important, I am kind of proud of the mainstream media for finally getting it's the hypocrisy story. It's not the gay sex story. Certainly they're going down that road. But now that there's the hypocrisy story out there, I can assure folks that there's going to be more of these guys.
What do you think Lindsey Graham should say?
Well, one of the things that I have to make a point to do is to not discuss any cases that I'm working on or when any cases may come out. But I'll tell you something. Lindsey Graham and I have an awful lot in common. He came back from Iraq, and the big thing that he announced was that he was able to buy 5 rugs for $5. And just like Lindsey, I love a bargain.
Oh, isn't that nice? Well, you know what irritates me about Lindsey Graham? Lindsey Graham serves in the military, and he's a reservist. He's a colonel, for the love of God. And if don't ask, don't tell is the policy, then what is he doing in the military?
Larry Craig as well served in the military, and Craig was chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee. So, you look at these guys, and let me tell you something. They're not the only ones in Congress with ties to the military and closeted behavior, and there's certainly going to be some of that reported on. Here's something interesting. Less than 2 weeks after he went into a court of law and pled guilty, he sent this one-line sentence. He says, "It's unacceptable to risk the lives of American soldiers and sailors merely to accommodate the sexual lifestyles of certain individuals." He said that 2 weeks after he pled guilty to that crime in a Minnesota bathroom. It's unbelievable. It
is unbelievable. The whole thing is unbelievable. I don't...
Of course, with the frequency, it's becoming more and more believable.
What about Mitch McConnell? Thoughts?
Like I said, I have to keep my mouth,
Why?
Barney Frank.
Why do you have to keep your mouth shut?
Because
you're writing a blog.
Because now, at this point of writing the blog, when I put up a name, people have come to trust my rate, which is 100% accurate.
Well, I will tell you who trusts you. I'm sure I did see it because I saw it. That led me to your website today. But the Washington Post wrote an article about you today, calling you the most feared man in Washington because you know where the gays are.
Well, and isn't it unbelievable that, with the war going on in the Middle East, these guys are busy focusing on who's gay, and they go all ballistic when someone's gay. And, they're just such a bundle of contradictions. Where's their Christian compassion? Where is them standing up for the Craig family? Where is the forgivingness that they claim they have? They throw them under a bus. At the same time, they have a double standard. There's that guy, Brady, in Texas, who admitted to being a drunk driver a few years ago. Vitter admitted to being with the prostitute, but they say, he wasn't charged. Well, the guy in Texas was charged, and he paid the fine
and
for drunk driving.
There was a guy in Florida who was heading up McCain's campaign.
Hitting up a cop in a bathroom.
A cop in a bathroom in Titusville. You want to talk grody bathroom. Titusville, hello.
And
At
Randy,
least I'm thinking, Union Station. Very trendy, very nice, all marble, not bad.
The guy in Titusville, last year he introduced a law to make public sex a harder crime.
First of all, they're not having public sex. They're soliciting public sex.
Right.
Or they're soliciting sex in a public place. And if that were illegal, then we would have to close down every single place I ever go on a Friday night.
Right, exactly.
You know, I'm in awe that these old pasty white guys can find sex, and I can't. I'm starting to think I should hang out in bathrooms in airports. It's not right. It's not fair. I'm better looking than Larry Craig. I'm better looking than half of these freaks.
Maybe there's going to be a rush of straight women hanging out in men's rooms with an attempt to get some, right?
I'm recommending it.
Well, you know what I say about these Republicans. God, they give bathroom sex a bad name.
They do. You know, it's very funny, but you know, there are people that do it in a chat room now, and so they find it completely clean and sanitary to, you know, sit in their underwears in their dirty little, you know, office area. And
you mean bloggers? No, just kidding.
No, I'm talking. You know what I'm not talking.
Of course.
Yes, and they find that much more tasteful. And I say, you know, bring back the toe taps and the hand signals, and let's get the personal stuff back into sex. You know, this chat room thing is so impersonal, and so I kind of am jealous, actually, that they can find guys. But the hypocrisy of them is outrageous. I mean, here I am in a public airway, sitting here saying I would go into a bathroom to find a man if I knew it would work for me. But that's because I have nothing to fear from my political party.
Right? And you're not out there beating up people for having sex out of marriage. You know, and that's the problem here. You know, you have somebody like a Vitter who, I mean, it's just astonishing. You remember when Vitter's wife, when she threatened to cut off, you know,
Yeah, she threatened to pull a Lorena Bobbitt on him.
Exactly. And
if he had acted like Bill Clinton did.
Right, and you know what? He you know, in some ways, Bill Clinton did something bad. This guy committed a crime. So it's he did something worse than Bill Clinton. I think I begged, and I actually called Vitter's office and asked his wife to reconsider. Even I think that's too harsh of a punishment in terms of what he did, and I think she listened to me. I left that advice.
Yeah, she put on the whore dress and got out there and said, yes, so what about it?
Exactly. So, you know, and it's one after the other, you know, and it's, you know, you look at Foley, you look at these guys, and I think
Well, Foley, I'll tell you why Foley was outrageous for me, because everybody in the Republican leadership knew Mark Foley was gay.
Right.
And everybody in the Republican leadership knew Mark Foley was hitting on, you know, young men, 16, 17-year-old men. They're not exactly children, but
right.
They were young men. And they all knew. Denny Hastert was with his chief of staff. He was the Speaker of the House. He knew. Every one of those Republicans covered up Mark Foley.
Absolutely. But, you know, the big difference and what really freaks these guys out, too, is this. They all knew Foley was gay, and they all
I knew Foley was gay.
Like, they all know Dreyer's gay.
I know Dreyer's gay.
So when they're in their conference rooms, they don't make the jokes about the gays and the faggots, right?
Right.
But when Larry Craig is in the room, they make the jokes about the gays and the faggots because they are blown away by this. You know, certainly a number of people, there have been rumors out there for 25 years on Larry Craig, but the real power players in Washington, this caught them completely blindsided them, as you can see. Because
you know what? I don't even believe that. And, you know, I wonder what you think about this, Mike. I mean, you like a good story.
I've heard, yeah.
Right, Arlen Specter, of all people, coming up and saying, yes, he pleaded guilty. I think he should withdraw his guilty plea and, you know, go to court on this all over again, and I'll stand by him. Now, Arlen is very tactical. I mean, there's no way that he's not a tactician, and there's no way that he's not thinking something when he comes to the defense of Larry Craig, who is, you know, a hypocrite, showed poor judgment, was arrogant, took out his business card, said, I'm a senator, what do you think of that, you know? I mean, just a horrible...
I think you're trying to intimidate me, Senator, and that's an additional charge.
Exactly. So but when you see Arlen Specter defending him, you got to kind of say, Arlen Specter's big issues are the warrantless wiretapping and Patriot Act, which Larry Craig agrees with Arlen Specter and the Democrats on, that it should not be this way in this
George
country.
Bush called him a traitor.
And a GD traitor. He called him a GD traitor, this God-loving man that has a direct line to the Jesus. So called him a GD traitor. And now Arlen's coming out. I have a funny feeling that there are certain people who got some sort of an explanation from the White House about this warrantless wiretap program, about the whole NSA program, and that what they heard sickened them, that Bush was warrantlessly wiretapping political enemies, and that Arlen might feel that Larry Craig was one of them, since Bush called him a traitor and is trying to send a message to Mitch McConnell, to Lindsey Graham, to Mark Dreyer, to Representative Pat McHenry, all these Republicans.
James McCreary in Louisiana.
That you will be next if you don't give me my damn money for my war. I got tapes.